What's up, guys? This morning, The Hollywood Reporter released an interview that they had with Bob Iger, the president of Disney, and they asked him whether or not they should be pumping the brakes on Star Wars films.
And in response, this is what he had to say. I made the timing decision, and as I look back, I think the mistake that I made, I take the blame, was a little too much, too fast. You can expect some slowdown, but that doesn't mean we're not going to make films. JJ is busy making episode 9. We have creative entities, including Benioff and Weiss, who are developing sagas of their own, which we haven't been specific about. And we are just at the point where we're going to start making decisions about what comes next after JJ's. But I think we're going to be a little bit more careful about volume and timing, and the buck stops here on that. So, what are your initial thoughts?
I think that lines up with stuff that we've already heard, that they put the standalone stories on hold, and they're going to be focusing more on the bigger series, the things from Rian Johnson and from Benioff and Weiss. I think that makes sense. I mean, I would still love to see a Kenobi film, but I don't know. This all seems to hold up with what they have been saying already. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, they announced so many things all within the same year, and I think that's part of the reason why fans were kind of divided, because some fans were excited about some things and some fans were excited about other things, and then there was a big divide after The Last Jedi and Solo. And I think that they rushed Solo, but I think that they did it for reasons that were more having to do with the investor part of things.
Yeah, we were watching the Jedi Collider Council and they were talking about that. I think they know more about that side of things than we do, but it sounds like that they were trying to get a little extra income right before a big quarterly meeting or something like that. And I mean, I would agree that Solo was too much too fast. I think that one a year felt good, but having The Last Jedi come out and then only 5 months later going to see Solo, I didn't feel like I was prepared for it. I remember sitting in the theater being like, I mean, I'm excited to see it, but it doesn't feel right somehow.
I think had Ron Howard been in charge of this project from the very beginning, it maybe wouldn't have seemed so rushed, even with the May release. But because they had so many reshoots, basically the entire film, once they switched directors, it felt very safe and very rushed for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Now, what do you think the slowdown means? Do you think that they're going to go to like one film every 2 years, or is it just in reference to pausing the Star Wars story name, or what do you think is going on there?
I mean, I could see them still doing one movie a year, possibly one every other year, especially with the Disney streaming service coming into play, because that's going to introduce a whole nother field of whatever content they decide to put on there. We've got the live action show coming.
I think, I mean, I'm still hopeful that we get one movie a year. I'm, of course, biased. I think that most of the general public would be fine with one every 2 years or something. And I do think, yes, the streaming service introduces a lot of interesting options here, because we just recently heard that Loki and the Scarlet Witch are getting their own shows where Elizabeth Olsen and Tom Hiddleston are going to play those characters for the streaming service. So it's possible that we could be getting something similar with Star Wars. I wouldn't really mind if they just took the Star Wars story kind of format and moved it over to the streaming service. Maybe it has a smaller budget. Maybe they're turned into 4-episode miniseries or something like that. But I don't know. I think I would have somehow been more prepared to watch Solo from our couch.
Yeah.
I don't know why it feels that way to me.
I could see, because a lot of people were like, I don't think we really need a Han Solo movie, which to a degree I kind of was like, yeah, that makes sense. I did enjoy the movie. It's definitely not top 5 for me or anything like that, but had someone come to me and said, we're releasing a Star Wars story miniseries, that would have been awesome. I feel like the budget would have been easier to handle for television to make something like that. And it wouldn't have had to have felt so padded out for a feature film.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should say that we are both on the side. I think that this is more a question of timing and not quality. I thought that Solo, despite all of its production issues, I thought it was a really fun time. I agree, it's not in my top 5 either, because, I don't know, it just didn't feel like this huge event movie. It was a story I felt was worth telling, but yeah, I guess something that I said when they first talked about possibly putting, well, it sounds like they are putting the Star Wars story, I don't know, series on hold, is that I wouldn't mind if some of those films, like Solo, were told in book form almost. I have kind of criticized some of the books for only being tied into the films. We don't really have anything that stands on its own. The books feel smaller when in Legends they used to be much bigger and tell much bigger stories, and I feel like we can take the movies, focus those on the really big galactic events, like let's talk about the Mandalorian Wars, obviously the Skywalker saga, the Jedi versus Sith stuff. We can focus on the huge events that really shaped the galaxy, and then we take, I was suggesting the books as the place where we can fill in some of the smaller stories, but I think that the streaming service would be an excellent option for something like that, where we tell the smaller, more intimate stories. And I don't know, it used to be this kind of stigma that film actors would look down upon television actors. I don't think that really exists anymore, or at least not as much. Like, we have huge actors like Ewan McGregor, by the way, doing shows like Fargo. And I don't know, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility at all that he would come back and do a show, a miniseries about Kenobi. I still would love to see that on the big screen, like, which, I don't know, feels kind of like I said all this stuff and I'm like, except for Kenobi, I still want that. But
again, I feel like it would feel too padded out, and they would have to make it, this whole 2-hour-ish long movie where it might be better off as a 4-part miniseries.
Yeah. Well, let's close this out by asking, do you think we're going to get a movie in 2020? Because it doesn't sound like, from what I've heard, Johnson's trilogy is ready to start. We haven't heard anything about the Benioff Weiss series. So
that was the only one that Bob Iger did mention in the Hollywood Reporter interview. So we know that the Rian Johnson trilogy is still being worked on, but he didn't mention that one specifically. So I think that we would get that one first.
The Johnson one? Or the Benioff Weiss one?
The Benioff Weiss one.
Yeah, it's interesting because they announced Johnson first. And yeah, I still completely think that they're working on the Johnson trilogy. I can't wait to see the people saying, Bob Iger didn't mention Johnson, they've canceled it. And like literally a week or two ago, they confirmed, yeah, we're still working on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. Since they announced the Johnson one first, I'm like, it feels like that one will come out first, but I don't know.
I like that Bob Iger came out and said something about this, because there's been all this talk about Kathleen Kennedy being fired or stepping down, and I don't really know where any of those rumors came from. Probably just wishful thinking from certain fans. But ultimately, Bob Iger came out, said this was my decision. It was probably all about the money going in and the investments behind these movies being made. So I like that he came out and owned up to the fact that they were doing too much too fast.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that while I've been very happy with how Star Wars has gone so far, I do think that, yes, Solo was too much too fast. It does seem like Disney spent $4 billion and they wanted to make it back as fast as possible. They pretty much have. I mean, I think the first 3 movies made $4 billion all told. Obviously, Solo was a disappointment, and it probably lost, or it did lose money. So I don't know, maybe there's some to make up, but I don't know. I agree that I'm glad that he came out and was like, okay, maybe we were pushing this too hard. And I've seen some people compare Star Wars to like Marvel, who does 2 or 3 movies a year. which on one hand I think is a fair comparison, but also Marvel has so many different stories to choose from and different characters.
I do not think it's a fair comparison at all. Marvel has a wealth of backstory, history that is already set in stone. Nothing is legends, nothing is canon. It's all out there to pick and choose from.
Right. That is something interesting. I saw someone on Twitter mention how Star Wars is the only real like major film series right now, franchise, that is making it up as it goes.
And it's been doing it since the 70s.
Yeah.
They've been having to like continue this story for so long and keep it fresh and new.
Yeah. The MCU has comics to draw upon, and I know that Star Wars technically has legends, but I mean, you can't do a lot of those stories because just the time has passed for Luke and Leia and Han to be that age. Yeah. So like the people saying they should have just done Heir to the Empire, it's like that couldn't have ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those stories they could do, but there would be all these recasts that I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't want to see. And I don't know, I think episode 9 is going to be a really good way to put an end to the stories of those characters.
Yeah, and of course, then I think they're going to start filling in the gaps with books. And I bet those will continue to draw from Legends content and stuff. But as far as the films go, I think they are very largely coming up with new stuff, and that's kind of unique. They're not straight adaptations. This is like from scratch storytelling, which I don't know, you're just not seeing that as much in the rest of film right now. But
yeah, so on the streaming service we want to see a Kenobi show. We want to see a Crimson Dawn underworld type show. I don't know, what else would you want to see on the streaming show?
I mean, I'd just be more open to anything. Like I've been saying, I don't want to see a Yoda origin story and a Jabba origin story and a Boba Fett origin story. Like, I would be more open to that on the streaming service. I don't know why, but I guess I just didn't want to have our one movie a year, our one big release be centered around something like that. But if it were a TV show and we were getting, I don't know, a handful of those every so often, I'm more open to that.
We are going to get some comics from some of those characters that you mentioned.
That's true.
Starting in December, the Age of series. So we'll get comics from Jabba. But those probably won't be origin stories. But we'll
think so.
More information from them.
Anyway, we went way off track. Do you think we're going to get a movie in 2020?
No. I think that they're going to maybe have the TV show, the live action show ready. And I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming on the streaming service. Yeah,
I tend to agree. Just because we haven't heard anything about any announcements, they could surprise us all at Star Wars Celebration. I hope that they do, but as of right now, my guess is, we're probably not going to get something in 2020. I think that right now they are reevaluating. And yes, I hope that we have Jon Favreau's show to make up for it. I think that might premiere late 2019 or early 2020. Maybe that makes more sense. But those are our best guesses for now. So we want to hear what you guys think. Are we going to get a new movie in 2020? What do you guys think of the whole slowdown of the Star Wars franchise? Are you for it, against it? Give us your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel,
and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.